Welcome. Hi. I just got a message. This meeting is being recorded, and probably you all did. So yeah, just to be in awareness, if you want to speak something and you don't want it to be recorded, you can tell us. You can ask us to pause the recording for your question. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Racheli. I live in Israel, Palestine, next to Jerusalem in a small village. And I will be your moderator for tonight for this event. I see some familiar faces and names and some new people that I haven't met before here. And I'm really happy to welcome you to this event. We have Naomi and Mariadi here as assistants tonight, and I want to ask one of you if you can please share our plan for the evening in the chat, so people have an orientation of what to expect. And I'm also welcoming the people who just came in. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, say where you are calling in from in the world right now. How are you feeling in your body? Yeah, what is any couple of sentences you want to share about yourself? So I welcome you to share it in the chat. And then later on, as the session progresses, we're actually not going to be using the chat so much. So now it will be lovely just to get a sense of who is in the room. And it's always exciting to see all in NVC Rising events and in many NVC, global things, how wide is the audience globally. So later on, we're actually not going to be using the chat so much. We are going to use a document that we like to use, a method called parking lot, where there is a separate document that will soon share the chat with you. Soon share the link for in the chat with you. And we'll be asking you to place your questions and requests from the tech team or from anyone. Like, for example, please speak slower, or I didn't understand this, mostly unless it's super urgent, to put it in the parking lot so that the chat is less confusing for the people holding the space, in this case, me, and that we can track your needs and requests. So Mariadi and Naomi, our assistants, will be reading everything in the parking lot. They will answer your questions if they can, and they will interrupt me, and I will also refer to them, and they will bring the questions from the chat to everyone. And also in the end of the session, we will have this beautiful document with questions. And if anything wasn't answered during the session, we will also make an effort to get back to you later. So it will be like a resource that comes with the recording that, we're going to share with people who are interested in this topic. So a couple of things before we start. So generally, we're going to have a speaker panel for about an hour, and where I will be asking the speakers questions, and then we will have 30 minutes or so to receive your questions. And then in the end, we're going to have the option of either joining an empathy circle, in which not everybody gets to share, but we practice reflecting, deeply hearing what the other people shared. And so it's kind of like harvesting the wisdom or the experiences, listening deeply to the experience of the circle. Or you could choose to go in a very small group of 3 people and just share and be heard in more intimate groups. The event tonight that is being hosted by NVC Rising. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with NVC Rising, but Shahar, you can share the link to our website here, so anybody who wants can learn more about us. And we are basically a group of NVC practitioners and activists that met in the context of Israel-Palestine, and we were hosting a lot of NVC events for a decade before COVID in the physical space that was a shared space for Israelis and Palestinians. That's where we met Irmtraud, for example. That's how we met Kathleen, through CNVC supporting us and bringing us to an IIT in America. And we met a lot of trainers and had quite a bit of experience organizing NVC communities and spaces and trainings. And then when COVID started, Shachal, who's here actually doing tech support tonight, had the idea of let's do everyone is stuck at home and there's so much happening in the world. And this is, I remember Robert Gonzalez, when I spoke to him about this, he said, we have a feeling this is a special moment on planet Earth. It's time to really pause and deeply listen together. And this is so much of what NVC supports us, is really deeply, deeply connecting to what is alive inside, and then moving together and supporting each other and amplifying our our true voices together, and then moving it into action. So Shachal had this idea of let's do something online that is really big and bringing a lot of people together. And we started holding big events, and we continued after the festivals to have a lot of empathy cafes and free speakers events and different things. And now recently, since 1 year ago, we had this instinct and wish to walk together for an extensive amount of time. And excuse me if my English is like, if I say funny words and stuff, definitely happens to me. I hope that was a correct word in this context. And we started the Learning Community, which is a group of people that for 10 months really build community together around the practice and learning of NVC. So we're super excited. This event is in honor of this learning community that will start in just 1 week from today. And yeah, we're holding this in celebration of this event, and we're also still inviting you to join. There's still some last spots available. And Shachar, if you can also share, I already shared the link about this. So yeah, we are very happy. We're in the midst of a lot of preparations, being in touch with people who are receiving scholarships from really diverse places in the world, and an amazing assistant team, and which Naomi and Maradi are leading. So yeah, we're very excited, and this is like having just a party before the party. So we're happy to be here. And that being said, I will now say a couple of things. One is about the hand gestures. I don't know if everyone is familiar, but I do want to welcome you to, first of all, as much as you can, keep your camera on. Of course, I know it's not always serving all your needs or possible. So if you turn them off, that's also completely understood. But it's nice for us, the speakers, to have a feeling of who is in the room. And then when we can see you, it's like super lovely for us. And there are some hand gestures that we are used to sharing, which just kind of can communicate even more, so we can feel each other. So and I don't know if you're familiar, but I'm just going to go over them briefly, so anyone who it's new for can just feel more comfortable. And this is a celebration. You can do it with me if you want, but if something that you say makes me like happy and joyful, and so I can do this. And this is actually breaks my heart. It's like a morning sign that this really touches me on the, like I can feel you. It's like tears. Then there's this, which is, this is touches my heart, or I'm like really feeling love at the moment for you, and care and connection. And then this is, I identify. So me too. I have a similar experience and I'm thinking the same. So yeah, if you see us doing any of these, and also please feel free because it just, if I see you doing it, I just feel nice. Like I understand what is going on inside of you, and you still didn't interrupt me to speak. But also, please do feel free to share your questions in the parking lot. Naomi, can you share the document with us in the chat? And then I invite you to open it. And just, if you have any questions coming up or comments, or just put them there, and the assistants will be tracking them and bringing them to the main room. Okay. And of course, if anything is super alive and you really, really want to say it, you can also raise your hand and we'll check with you, and maybe we'll even invite you to speak before the time for questions, but there will definitely be time for questions from the audience. And now for the topic of the night. So we're here because for parents and children, and of course, many other people who have interactions with children in their lives. So it can be grandparents, can be older, cousins, uncles, the kids in your neighborhood, maybe you're a teacher. There's so many opportunities for interaction with children, and it is such an interesting relationship from the perspective of NVC, because there is such a big power difference, and at least in the way that there is a power difference. One creature is the children are needing a lot of support from us, the adults, and traditionally there's also so much in the way that, I don't know, the society of people here are from very different societies, but in many societies, not all, it's traditionally maybe children are meant to be heard and not, seen and not heard, or there is a lot of forms of punishments, and NVC speaks of a very different approach. And also there is a lot of pressure on parents systemically. So we are no longer, not all of us, but many of us are no longer living in a tribal environment where there is many children and many grown-ups together. So often it's two grown-ups, or maybe one grown-up who needs to take care of children and make a livelihood at the same time. And there's a lot of pressure on parents, and we really, really have a desire to care for this relationship. And it's also under so much, it's so vulnerable in a way. And there's also such an honor and a delicacy in really welcoming children into the world and introducing concepts to them. There's so much potential there, and there's often so much complexity there. And there's what we carry from previous generations. So it's really a fascinating relationship, an intersection of many matters that are super related to NVC and the gifts it has to bring. So I'm very excited for tonight's topic, and I'm also grateful. I know there are people here who don't have children, and your presence is such a contribution in many ways. And just thank you everyone who came. We are now 68 people on the call, and let's begin. Okay. So I just want to introduce our speakers. Shachar, can you highlight them and me for just a moment so we'll see them, our dear, wonderful, beautiful speakers?
Hello.
Hello. So since I heard your voice, Irmtraud, I'm going to introduce you first. So Irmtraud is both a CNVC certified trainer and an assessor, which for CNVC, which means she coaches and supports, I hope I'm using the right word, people who want to become certified by as NVC trainers. And what you shared about yourself is that you've been very much impacted by growing up in post-war Germany, where guilt and shame were a very big part of the history. And NVC was very supportive in differentiating between guilt, shame, and responsibility. And from this place, you were very much inspired by Marshall's work to be sharing NVC in regions of conflict like Israel and Palestine, which is where I actually met you first, and Kenya, Ukraine, Somalia, to support reconciliation and social change. And you have I know this from knowing you, but yeah, you have a big commitment to supporting a world where everyone's needs matter. And I'm very curious about how you can use your privilege to bring more collaboration so that more people have access to more resources. I believe you're also a medical doctor. Is this true?
Yes.
Yes. And you also share that as a parent, you actually got to know NVC later in your career, when your children where your biological children were 15 and 12 years old. I guess you feel like maybe you have more children than that. And it was very beneficial for the relationship, bringing trust to you as a mother, to see that you're parenting not from guilt and shame, but from when they were not behaving in ways that were in integrity with your values, and also meeting many needs of yours and them. And now your children are 43 and 40 years old, and you have close and caring relationships with a lot of respect for each other's boundaries. So thank you for being with us, Irmtraud. And we have Sam with us. Sam is also a certified trainer by the Center for Nonviolent Communication, and you live in Kenya. Irmtraud, you living in Germany. I didn't mention that. And you have two children, 11 years old and 7 years old. And one topic that you mentioned as being very much something that you are involved with is maybe I don't have the word, transforming the habit of caning as a form of punishment in schools in your area. So that's a big thing that you are working with. I feel my English is like a little bit, I'll be speaking less and you'll enjoy other people's English. And Sam, you are also a farmer, and I spoke with you a couple of times on the camera, and I saw the really beautiful farm and amazing animals that you have. It's very inspiring, and so you are working a lot to contribute to bringing peace using NVC. As you have seen the impact of violent conflicts around you since childhood, so this is a big longing in your life. Thank you for being with us, Sam. And last,
thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really touched that the three of you have come here together to be with us tonight. And then last, I'm going to introduce, last but not least, of course, Kathleen, also from the, you're from the USA. I'm actually not sure what city you're in right now, so maybe you can tell us.
I'm in Menominee, Wisconsin, on the lands of the Menominee and the Ho-Chunk.
Wow.
So you're also a certified trainer since 2003 and CNVC assessor since 2010. And you have been working for many years in the Freedom Project, in Seattle, bringing NVC to prisons and restoring communities on both sides of the prison, in and out. You're also a conductor of multiple classical music recordings, and I know you've written some children's books. And what else will I say? Then I know you have two children. One is 25 and 29, and one is 29. And we are very, there's a lot more I could say about you. And because you've been doing, there's a lot here. And one thing that I want to mention to everyone, there's two beautiful TEDx talks that you can listen to with Kathleen that I find very inspiring resources. So thank you for being with us, and let's start the panel. So I have basically, we'll ask you, there's 3 questions I'm going to ask you, and just whoever feels inspired will answer first. So the first question is, what are some highlights or inspiring moments, maybe gifts that you felt that NVC has brought your parenting, your relationship with your children? So, yeah.
And this is a question that we all get to talk about for 1 hour, right? What are the inspirations?
Okay, and we also talk about the challenge.
That was a joke.
Oh, that was a joke. Okay.
It was a joke, just that there's so much. So Irmtraud and Sam, did you want to jump in first? You're on mute, Irmtraud.
You're muted.
It's okay, you start.
Okay. I don't know where to start. That's why I offered, just that there's, I think for me, the preciousness, like just watching all your check-ins in the chat and knowing that all around the world, there are people who are giving their lives to care for children, people who are doing everything we can to provide safety, to provide protection, to live love. Like that's my life vision, is how do we live love in the world in ways that benefit all beings? And there's no other place besides parenting where that is 24/7. Like it's constant, and it's hard, and it's not a job that I get to step back from when I have no resources. I'm beyond any resources that I thought possible. Where does my strength come from? And a lot of time, the clarity of the focus of we are interdependent. Their safety and well-being and my safety and well-being is tied up. And the safety and well-being of each one of your children and my children is linked. And the safety and well-being of the children of the men and women inside prison, their children and my children, their safety depends on what we do and how we hold. And so it helped me redefine what parenting is. It was no longer about making my children behave in certain ways. It was about helping them flourish and become the empowered, beautiful beings that know they have a place at the table. And my job was to stay in relationship with them. Beyond everything else, I just wanted to make sure that when my children get to be 40 and 43, Irmtraud, I want to be able to sit where you're sitting and say we have close, caring relationships. And nothing else matters. Out of that relationships, I believe everything else, we can navigate all the other places. So there's so much to say, but I'm going to stop there and pass it off to my colleagues.
Then go next. Yeah, as Kathleen shares, it's really a huge box to get into. And I lack clear memories of my childhood up to, I think, 6 years, because they were really painful. It was a painful childhood. And I think my body safeguarded me by blocking these memories. And so for me, being with my children is a space to connect with my childhood in one way. As I see the cheekiness in them and we play together. In this way, I can reconnect with childhood. And something else that I also find meaningful is that my mother single-handedly raised 7 of us, because our dad died our dad died when we were still young. And for a woman in a culture where the women's role is a housewife, to step into the position of providing and caring at the same time for the children is super overwhelming. And add on to that 7 children, because right now 3 of my siblings are dead. We are remaining 6 of us. So back then it was raising 7 of us. And as one child out of the 7, getting the attention and focus of the mother was not easy, because it was divided amongst us in a space where that reassurance of the next meal was never there. So it wasn't easy. And so for me, being a parent who's able to provide for my children gives me what I really longed for at that time, at a time when I understood that it wasn't there, not because the mother didn't choose to deny us the food or any other need, like the clothes we would have longed for, or going to this school trip that we would have longed for. So for me, being able to do that brings me that joy, as if I am living that childhood life and I'm getting what I had longed for back then. So I'm living a life of both a parent and a child at the same time. And I would have wished to be listened to with the confusion of what's happening. How comes we don't have this and others have? How comes other children are going for a school trip and we are not? And we never talked about this. So for me, getting that space talk about this with the children.
Mm.
Reconnect me with the childhood of having that person to care for me, to hold my hand, to walk with me, not only to support me, but also connect with my heart. Let me pause there.
Thank you so much, Sam. Irmtraud, are you willing to unmute? Oh, you're not muted. I was just seeing your pin. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Yes, inspiration. I think the biggest inspiration was to have a different relationship with my children than I had with my parents or with my mother mainly. When I was about 3 years old, I was in hospital, and at that time, parents were not allowed to visit children in hospital. And when I came back home, there was another baby. And in my mind, I made up I was not behaving well enough. So they put me in the hospital. I got a surgery, and they got a new baby that is nice. And so, and I think this has disturbed my relationship with my mom for, I think, about 50 years, when I realized this in the family constellation work. And so I wanted to have a different connection with my children. And so until I got to know NVC, I still had a different relationship. I was caring about their, to try to live power with, even if I didn't have this word, this term, which also caused a lot of challenges with my closer family. I can talk about this later in the last part. And nevertheless, I enjoyed being with my children, apart from nights when they wanted to play and I was tired and wanted to sleep. At that time, I at times thought, oh, I could kill you. And I really admit it, because I think it's also important that parents know it's not only joy to be with children, it can be also a real challenge. So I didn't kill them. I'm very happy. And what I enjoyed very much is that one time my daughter, I think she was about 25 or so, and she asked me, were there times when you were shouting at me? And I said, yes, with some guilt. And she said, oh, that's okay, because I see what became out of me, and I just witnessed some friends who were shouting at their children, and I think they will grow up well. And I thought, okay, thank you. This was some gratitude I received. And what I learned from this, also knowing NVC by then, is it's more about the intention. At times the words can be harsh when I am just worn out. And still they know I love them. And so it's a different kind of relationship. And it's not for punishing them. It's just what we call a giraffe scream. I need some time for myself. And I think that's what I got also from NVC, to be authentic. And let them know, whatever you do, I love you and I trust you. I do the best I can contribute, and you do the best you can do. And so we got along with each other. I trusted when my daughter wanted to go to a party and wanted to come home later than I had imagined. And I told my husband, we were still together at that time, I trust her, let her be, and I will pick her up even at 1 in the night or so. And I knew she wouldn't get drunk or take drugs, so I was fully trusting. And that's something I learned from NVC. And I will stop here. And yeah.
Thank you so much. So the next question that I'm going to ask the three of you is actually about moments where you, as an NVC practitioner, and you're even certified trainer, so this is a big part of your life, the practice of NVC, very alive, you're very committed to it, very much steeped in it, and you feel like, yeah, it's really hard for me to right now be practicing NVC in my parenthood, maybe because of what you've been used to, the way you were raised, or maybe because there's just not enough time or space, or it just doesn't seem to come together. And yeah, so I'm curious about this. Yeah, and maybe either a story or an anecdote or just some perspective on this that yeah, you're willing to share with us.
Well, I can start. For me,
Thank you.
the challenging situations were less with my children, more with the father of my children, who had different ideas about parenting. My son was bullied in school, and then he started to tell us he has stomach ache and wants to stay at home. And I told him, it's okay for me, you stay at home as long as you somehow get through school. And if you go to school one day a week or so, it's okay with me. And the father told him, yes, but that's life and we cannot avoid everything. And he needs to go to school and he needs to face reality. So we had a lot of discussions at that time, and that was more challenging. I tried to empathize with him, and somehow we worked along with it. And I insisted that our son can stay at home if need be. Also telling him as a doctor that if he starts to use sickness as a strategy to not face difficult situations, then this might materialize as real sickness or as a pattern later that he will get sick if things get difficult. So I fully supported him to stay at home, to take a break. And with this, we got relatively well through this time. I'm complete.
Thank you. Kathleen, can I turn the question to you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many times I'm noticing that there's gratitude that early on in learning nonviolent communication, I really got the message that this is not about being perfect. It's not about arriving anywhere. It's a daily practice to live more in alignment with my values, closer and closer, to meet more needs more of the time for more people. And that was good because in parenting every day, there's something that I wish I could have met more needs more of the time and with more grace than I perceived myself meeting. And so I do remember a situation where I lived in the woods, and in order to have a garden, we have very, very tall fences so that the deer can't jump over them and eat all of the things that we've grown. So my two younger children were on the inside of the garden and I was on the outside, and there was a big fence in between. And my little one had a big rake, a large tool, and she had it over her head and was about to hit the older child, and I couldn't physically get to her to stop it. So I did my giraffe screaming, and there was this moment of, I don't know how to do this, but I know that I want to act for safety. So I started screaming needs. I started screaming, I want everybody to be safe, put the rake down, stop, freeze, I want safety. And then the rake was not going down on the ground. And so I then started hearing myself saying, if you don't put that rake down, then I am going to ground you, which is our word here for putting her in her room and taking away things she likes to do. But my child had never heard that word before. So I'm screaming, I'm going to ground you. I know you don't know what that means, but you're not going to like it. I was listening, I was watching myself doing the best I could in the moment to stop harm. And watching the domination system mingle with the power with system, the demands mingle with requests, and knowing that I just had to keep grabbing for whatever I could for protection at the time. And I said, and if you want to know what grounding is, then put the rake down and come out and we'll talk about it. And I kept trying to engage. And I think that's the piece, is like trying to engage with love, no matter how clumsy. There were just so many moments when I just knew the direction I wanted to go, and I was doing my best to get there. And there was a lot of moments when I would also turn in on myself, turn violence in on myself. But again, the self-empathy process was huge, huge during parenting. And again, I kept that focus. I want to stay in relationships. So repair work became extremely important. Like in those times, after I remember telling her, I wanted safety so much and I didn't know how to get it. I wish I would have known something besides threatening you with something you wouldn't like. What can we do differently? I'm trying to learn. I remember doing the repair work afterwards, so we can both be focused. But the whole intention was any kind of, the whole word about discipline. My partner told me yesterday it has the same root as disciple. The word means learning. And what are we trying to learn in nonviolent? We're learning how to make life wonderful. So how do we have the conversations in which all of our discipline is need-based discipline? We do what we can to meet needs in ways that maintain connection. So when the connection was broken in those moments, I want to always come back and repair. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Wow. I feel very inspired. Thank you. Sam, can I invite you to refer to the same question?
Equality and inclusion are my deepest longing, and ease. This year I'm having a theme of ease. And somehow I found myself having a soft spot for my daughter. I'm not sure if it's because she's youngest, or I can't tell, or it's because she's more outspoken to speak her needs than her brother. It's difficult to tell. And so I find myself fulfilling most of her needs, even at times when I see her brother may need this, and I'm quicker to respond to her naturally, and I can't tell why. So I find myself torn. My mind tells me that I long for equality. I'm really like fighting for inclusion and equality. Here I am I really living this with my own children? And this is usually painful to reflect on because I'm torn. I don't know how to bring this fairness also to both of them. So this is my biggest dilemma. And my children go to a public school, and in the Kenyan constitution, not constitution, Kenyan government passed a law that punishment be abolished in Kenya years ago. I'm not sure if it's 7 or 10 years ago. The reality is punishment still is a norm in the schools because we're having a training with some teachers who are going to be integral in the establishment of an NVC school here. And so we were having this joke that the teachers believe that the knowledge and the wisdom of the children is in the buttocks, and so they can them in the buttocks to drive out this foolishness or stupidity and inflict or inject wisdom. And so I'm aware of this. My son never says that he's been punished or he had this incident with another child at school. But my girl says, I was beaten today, or I was pinched today. And I'm like, oh no, not again. And I wouldn't wish to be punished. And I wouldn't wish to hear or know that it's happening. And so this is what the teachers know. They were trained to cane and punish, and they don't have any idea of an alternative way. And I'm really lost how to support because directly the class teacher of my children, I let them know that I don't punish my children, and I wouldn't wish for them to be punished by you. And we've transitioned from the city. We are barely landing where we are in the village, despite being there for a year and 6 months. It's not easy having lived my whole life in the city, and now I'm in the village. And the children are also transitioning there, so it's not easy for us. And I share this with the teachers so that they can understand them. When you say something and they don't understand, it's just that they are dealing with a lot and it's not easy for them. So punishing them will not be helpful. But there's that teacher who is not the class teacher and they're in a common space. So this happens, and I realized that I cannot go to the school each time and just inquire about this. And so one of my reasons of being here in this training for teachers is to learn with the teachers, just be able to listen to them. And I can take away 1 or 2 lessons so that I can go back home and share with the teachers of my children. Because I do share that I am privileged to have my children in a private school and pay for them on time at the first day of the school term. And so I have a good rapport relationship with the school and the teachers. So they listen to me. And they've been curious, what job do you do? Because they are happy to have a parent who pays on time. And so because of that, I started talking with them about punishment and why I wouldn't wish for them to punish my child. And so they've given me space to share with them about this thing that I teach and how comes I don't punish my children. And they are interacting, they are learning, they're doing their assignments without punishment. So this was really a beautiful entry point for me, the privilege of paying school fees on time and hearing that I don't do it and I don't support it, because it's sad to know that parents do, actually they demand the teachers to punish the children.
Mm.
So if you are a teacher and you do not punish the child, you are the one who's contributing to the child failing and getting this low grade. And we award those students who do well and the people who do well, and they're not concerned about those who get the lower grades. And it's a dynamic that I know it's not easy, and it's something that I'm really taking up so that I can make it safer, not only for my children, because I was there, I was punished, and I ended up hating the subjects where the teachers were strict and hit me hard and more. And so this is what I'm purposing to journey on and see if it can work, and if they can see that the children can do their assignments, they can sit the exams and get higher grades when they're not being punished. Maybe it can be a pilot for other children. And I'm really happy that right now there's hope of an NVC school in Kenya, which can also bring some connection and a circle between the parent, the child, and the student. No, I've said the parent, the teacher, and the child, rather than the thought of the teacher and the child at school and then the child and the parent at home. Just close the loop. So that's what I'm longing for.
Wow, thank you. So this last part of this round connection between the parent, the child, and the teacher. And also really I heard from you that while wanting to impact change with the teachers, you first start by really giving them a sense that you are listening to them, and you feel privileged to be in a place where they also have some respect for you, because and some open ears and curiosity towards you. Maybe also because you listen to them, maybe also because you're paying the school on time, maybe also because people around you see that you are not in this punishment mindset, and your children are learning and performing in a way that is inspiring. So this is really touching on the last question that I wanted to ask you about, which is really of this experience. We always say it's not easy to be a giraffe alone in the room in a jackal world, and raising children with this intention of, speaking about feelings and also parenting in a power with approach, which can be quite different than what is going on in the world around you. So yeah, my last question is, when you really touched on it, Samuel, a lot. Hi, Sangwa. Hi. So is about maybe moments where you really noticed, or aspect of your parenting where you noticed you needed to give special attention to the relationship between what you are trying to do with your children, which can be quite different than what other people are doing, and what the environment around is doing, and how that interaction played out, maybe with anecdotes or stories or anything else. And I just want to acknowledge one more thing that I really, really celebrate from your sharing, Sam, that you said you are starting to create an NVC school in Kenya. And I see we also have Stein here on the call, and I know that you've also been active in creating a school, and just really celebrating the sense of hope that I receive from when we actually also succeed in setting up systems around us that will bring even more support. It's of course also working within the schools is like that already exists is huge, but I'm really celebrating hearing that this is coming to life in your community. So we have about 15 more minutes for the last question. And I wonder if Irmtraud, you'd be willing to start. Yeah, thank you.
Some of big challenges were to support my children in making their decisions in the family context. For example, when my father-in-law, he always wanted to hug the children, and they didn't want to be hugged. And in the beginning, before I had enough knowledge about raising children in a different way, I told them, yes, it's your grandfather and you should do it. And later, when I also understood how this, before I got to know NVC, how this forcing children to do something they don't like contributes to a situation where they might experience physical abuse or even sexual abuse. And I don't like these terms, and right now I don't have another word. So I supported them to say no when he wanted to hug them. And this was a challenge in the family meetings. And I asked my husband, their father, to tell his father not to force hugging on them. And he didn't understand it. And these situations were really difficult to handle. And something similar was happening with my mother. My daughter, I think at about 2 or 3 years old, she stopped eating vegetables. And my mom had a big garden. She had raised us with a lot of vegetables, very healthy. And she couldn't understand that we didn't force our daughter to eat vegetables. And we had a lot of discussions. And I was backing up my children and telling my mother, my father-in-law, I accept the decisions of my children. They have reasons for it. And later I knew there were needs like autonomy, respect, acceptance. And I think this is also something that created this deep bond we have with each other, that I was really backing them up in difficult situations. I'm complete for now.
Thank you so much. I do see that there is one thing that was happening in the chat. So Shachal, can you speak with Nadia and see if you can support her before we hear from Samuel again?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to ask Mariadi and I want to ask Mariadi and Naomi if you can tell me if there's anything we need to know from the parking lot that we shouldn't wait with until after the bio break.
So there are a few questions about applying NVC in specific situations here.
Okay, so would these questions be suitable for soon when we open for questions from participants?
I think so.
Okay, thank you. I want to invite Kathleen to speak, and then Sam, and hopefully we will have the issue resolved before before we hear from Sam next. So Kathleen, are you willing to be next?
Sure. Do you want to ask the question one more time just to
Sure.
yes. Get it in
So
my head?
when we are being a parent and in a society, being a parent, you have a lot of interactions with other people in the world around you, other parents in the school where your kids go, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, the school system, the neighborhood, you know, what people are saying about how you raise your kids to you or behind your back sometimes. And just did you notice sometimes as a parent points of interaction where there was some tension or your attention was needed to care for how your child is either being treated by others or how you are being judged or conceived by others, or maybe things that the teachers were requiring your kids and you wanted to have a conversation with them about it? If there's any story or something that you remember from your parenting about this.
Okay, I wish we had a week, because the
Wow.
whole idea of power over and how do we live that in an interconnected society, we can't be interconnected without it. But it's huge, and thank you for the specificity. You've already named so many layers. So one piece for me was, I'm clear that I've internalized the domination system. It lives in me. So just having the thought that I'm a parent and those that I gave birth to are my children is already a part of that system. And so there's a lot of work that I needed to continue to check in with myself. Where am I on that? I like to think of a spectrum of power over, power with, or power under, but where am I on that continuum? And can I move closer and closer to power with? And it's complicated because, like, thank you for the questions in the parking lot. How do we apply this? I just want to say it changes moment to moment. It changes on the context. It depends on who has access and resources. So we have very different resources, very different developmental places, very different ways of seeing the world, depending on that, it constantly changing, depending on what age and where we are in our cycle in life. And so how do I stay focused and create that power with world when I haven't lived in it? And so there's a couple things. And one, I love the question in the parking lot about a child being in the no stage, and yet they're concerned for health. I remember that so well. Mom, can I have candy? Mom, can I have this? Mom, can I have this? And it's like, I'm like, oh, I really want you to have health. No, I want to eat this. Or I really want health for everybody. And then at some point, I wasn't just tending to the need for health, the need for connection and trust and collaboration came up. And I said, you know what? I want to say yes to you. I dearly want to say yes to you. I want us to be in a relationship where I say yes, 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 yes to your life. And I've noticed I've been saying no, 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 no. So will you ask me a question? Will you ask me for something that you think I will be able to say yes to? Because I want to say yes right now in this moment. And so, she thought for a while, and then she asked me something that she knew I would say yes to because it would bring joy. And that just kind of shifted some of the energy so that my child had some trust. I cared about their needs, even in a moment where we couldn't find strategies. And so that was one way of creating the power with on like an interpersonal level. And when I start thinking about a little more systemic, like with the family, like Irmtraud, I love your stories about as if we are co-parenting with somebody or have extended family that thinks your job as a parent is different than the one you're holding. Like, how do we navigate that? And just to continue to focus, be the one in the room to hold the needs of all and to make the needs visible and to get us on the side. It sounds like you want health and it sounds like you want some ease right now and you're wanting to make sure your voice is being heard. How do we figure that out? Like, I want that for all of us. So to be the one to actually name the needs, get us all working toward a collaborative, that shifts the power dynamic so that we're all collaborating. And then there's the big systemic level. And I just want to name, do I have time for one more little story? Okay. I remember a time when my child, it was the end of the day, and one of my children were in the bathtub and we were talking, and she said something about, my teacher keeps saying, things are good and things are bad, but you and dad don't say that here. And, you say something different, that, people are meeting needs or whatever she said. And it was just empathy. It was just really empathizing with her. Is that confusing when you have different messages? There's one message at home and there's one message at school. And she's like, yes, yes, yes. And it was just empathy. And we had this whole dialogue empathizing with, wow, does it make it hard to know who to believe, or does it Is it hard to know who to trust? And by that time, she climbed out and she sat on my lap and she was wrapped up in a towel, and I could just see this little head bobbing up and down with the yes or the no underneath the empathy guesses, and just holding her, and how confusing. And that was another one of those moments as a parent, like, I can't protect her from or stop a world where she's going for the rest of her life to hear about things that feel different to me than how I want her to see the world. I can't do that, but I can accompany her. I can hold her. I can tell her what my heart wants. My heart wants a world where people are seen for their beauty and supported so that they can help each other and not hurt each other and not hurt themselves, instead of a world where they're punished or pushed away. That's what I want. But she's the only one who can choose that for herself. And so I want to be there as she's going through the conversations. I want to be there with her, like, what feels good to you in this moment, and what's the kind of world you want to live in, and what makes the most sense to you right now to get there. And so that was like on all the levels of doing our own inner work around power, interpersonal work around power, systemic work around power, and to just accompany and be co-explorers, because I don't have it figured out. But I do know that having community and family and, schools where we're having those conversations, thank you, Sam, for so much for being a part of the dialogue, is how do we create the world we want and how do we do it together? Helps usher in, even when I don't know how, just the question helps usher in the idea of power with. So thank you. Thank you for that question too. It's so critical in parenting. Those most marginalized on the planet, I think, are the ones who are the youngest to have the fewest access to resources.
Wow, that is what you just said holds a huge reality for many people in extreme ways, actually. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, and I really mourn that. Sam, we are with you for the last 5 minutes of this conversation, this part of the conversation. Would you like me to repeat the question, or it's well clear?
Yeah, you can repeat.
Great.
Yeah.
So the question is, in a power over world, in a world where most of the people have not been trained with NVC, even if many people have it as their natural instincts and intuitions, but there is a lot of other things that we see, such as repressing emotions and being very much on the the mentality of punishing children, or many, this mentality here we have, some don't cry, don't let the child cry, for example. That's something that is, no need to cry, be tough. Different things that are maybe less from the world of NVC, and you being as a parent who is practicing NVC, maybe in a different, wider environment, are there moments that you can recall, stories or issues that really you see your parenting as different, and you need to give some attention or enter a dialogue with someone or do something in order to give your child the experience of what the NVC practices has to offer? So where there's like a gap between how you parent and how the environment. You touched on this, but maybe you have something to add.
Yeah, something practical for me is, as the others have shared, it's not easy parenting, of course, in a world where the system is a hierarchy, and there is somebody at the top. And here we are talking about power with. So in most African communities, the family, what you're going to eat, when we'll go to visit this family friend, or I don't know who, is decided by the parents, and the children only follow along. If tomorrow something has happened and you're not supposed to go to school, even you don't know about that, You are just told you are not going to go to school tomorrow. You'll be going to place X. So for me, something I've found connecting with the children is instead of buying something that you're going to be eating in the evening, I pose that question: what would you love to eat this evening? What would you love for supper? And my daughter is usually the first one to jump. I would like this. And so in most cases, we go for that. That's what we cook. And yeah, I'm torn because I don't know. I would love to hear more of my son's voice, and I don't know how to bring it in without pushing him. So that's also something that I'm acknowledging. So including the children in making decisions of what you're going to eat. We are approaching the holiday. How much time would you love to spend with your mother? And when you would love to go? These are the discussions we are having right now. So this is something I find powerful and I would wish for in most families, because we don't know it all. We don't know what the children want. If I only go with what I want, and that's what I eat, for example, I'm secluding them. And my son loves football and swimming. So do we go to swim on Saturday after school, or do we go to swim on Sunday after church? So I let them be a part of the decision. So this is one of the most important things that I really celebrate, because I was never given that chance to. I listen to them, and they come home with the assignments. This is interesting. Kenya is going through a new curriculum. I don't know what the assignment is all about. And the children think that I know everything. And so when they ask and I say, I don't know, somehow they are shocked. So I'm bringing them to that consciousness that my father does not know everything. And it's a space for me to learn. So that's a space that I really love being in with them. Like, especially the languages has totally changed compared to how we learned it. And it's like I'm learning a new language altogether. I'm curious to see how this curriculum, how they will be when they finish school, to what it was for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Do you feel complete? Yeah. Okay, so now we will take a short bio break. Do 7 minutes sound like a good time, or you want to go for less or more? Yeah, 7 minutes. That's a bit funny with the watch. So we will start again at, let's say, 16 minutes after the hour. And then we will be taking questions from you, the audience. So if you have a question, you can already think about it, and we'll see you soon. We'll have about 30 minutes to hear questions and the replies from our speakers. Thank you so much.